Auto racing, one of the most versatile sports on the planet, spanning six of the seven continents, from the local heroes of the small town short tracks to the immortals of the hallowed grounds like Daytona, Indianapolis, Monaco, and Le Mans. This worldwide phenomenon is driven by those who have a need for speed.
I feel the need for speed.
But it wasn't always about speed. The earliest tests were about reliability, getting from one point to another efficiently. While the idea of cars goes all the way back to the 1700s, the modern car as we know it wasn't developed until the 1880s. Trials were run, with the first being around 1867, but these were all mostly consisted of one or two cars, hardly considered an actual race. This would all change in December of 1893. Based out of Paris, France, the Le Petit Journal was becoming one of the largest newspapers in the world. On the December 19th, 1893 issue, editor Pierre Giffard, under a fake name, used paper's influence to advertise a competition of horseless carriages. Giving a deadline of April 30th, 1894, Giffard got over 100 entries. There were little as far as stipulations were concerned. All that was required was safe, easy to handle, and low cost to run. Perhaps the biggest stipulation was that each entry was to run under its own power. 5,000 francs were on the line to the winner, as vehicles of all propulsion methods were entered. Steam, gasoline, and somehow even gravity were entered. In an effort to show the machines to the public, qualifying events were held on the 19th of July of 1894. Of the 102 entries originally scheduled to appear, only 26 would actually make the trip to Paris. To prevent disruptions out on the roads, the entries were divided among 5 different routes throughout the French countryside. Day 1 saw 17 hopefuls taking to the roads, starting in Paris and going to places like Mantes, Rambouillet, and Corbeil. On the first day of trials, only 13 of the 17 entries would make it to their destinations. The next 2 days saw 8 more vehicles making their attempts. All 8 would make it to their destinations, and with that, 21 cars would come to the starting line the next morning, Sunday, July 22nd. At 7:30 a.m. on July 22nd, 19 of the 21 entrants lined up at the Porte Malon in Paris. Their destination, the Champ de Mars in Rouen, 80 miles away. The event would follow the Seine River, with cars going through multiple towns in the French countryside. At 8 a.m., the race commenced with Count Albert de Dion's steam tractor first off the line. To prevent congestion, each competitor was off the line at 30-second intervals. Towards the end, the final 2 competitors, 2 steamers owned by Maurice Leblanc, finally arrived and would join the other 19 cars, making all 21 competitors starting the event. Much has changed in the last 130 plus years since 1894. Paris and, of course, France as a whole was heavily contested during World War I and World War II. Finding the exact route is a bit of a mystery, but it may be a fair bet that they started on what is now the Avenue Charles de Gaulle, or modern-day Route National 13. It didn't take long before problems began for competitors. Just a little over 4 miles from the start, a broken axle would claim the De Prendiez Serre steamer. In anticipation for a long day, a few breaks were allowed at places like Saint-Germain. After 31 miles, a stop would be made in Mantes to allow for lunch. The Dion steamer pulled into Mantes first after 2 hours and 40 minutes. For comparison, in modern times, it would take roughly 50 minutes to make that trip today. The race would restart around 1:30 p.m. They set out for the second and longest stretch of the event, a distance of around 49 miles to Rouen. The De Dion steamer maintained the lead with the number 28 Peugeot driven by Auguste Durand behind. A wrong turn just around 9 miles from the finish almost derailed De Dion when he ended up in a potato field outside Eagleville. Despite this, he would continue on, and at around 5:40 p.m., De Dion would cross the line first with the 65 Peugeot of Albert Lemaitre coming in 3 minutes later. Throughout the evening, the others came in, with Ernest Archdeacon in his Serpollet steamer finally arriving after 10 p.m. Archdeacon had a ridiculously long day, taking 13 hours to traverse 80 miles. Despite the Dion finishing first with an average speed of around 12 miles per hour, the steam tractor required a trailer to function, and it was deemed not ideal and given second prize. He received 2,000 francs, which is roughly about $13,000 today. Not a bad payday. That being said, the grand prize of 5,000 francs was split between the Peugeots and the Panhard teams, who all ran gas-powered engines built by Daimler Motors. The grand prize equals to around $34,000 today. Perhaps the most impressive start of the day is that 17 of the original 21 starters actually finished. The event was a major success, covered in newspapers all over, and helped usher in the dawn of the automobile. But that's a story for another time.